Kids and coaches, it's the professor. We're going to talk, woes me. We're going to talk Indiana basketball blowing the last winnable game that they had in the next three. We're going to talk, woes me, the state of Indiana University in total baseball. And we're going to talk Cubs baseball. So let's get into it. So right out of the gate, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Will Indiana make the tournament? And I'm here to say, based on the performance at home against wasn't a must win, but it was a should have been a win to help improve the team to 18-10, 9-8 in the Big Ten. Instead, they moved to 17-11 and under 500 in the Big Ten, which knocks them into tied for 12th in the conference. And folks, it was another clunker, a big old goose egg, and the attendance and fans showed it. From the beginning, Indiana looked decent. The shooting was all right on the outside. We were up by 9 at halftime, 33-42, and that had come on a couple minutes of some high performance out of Wilkerson. But once again, Sam Fisher underperforming points in the paint, underperforming in rebounds. And Nick Dorn, poor Nick Dorn. Nick Dorn has missed 31 of 37 field goal attempts over the last 3 games. The guy has less than 10 points as a starter in 3 games. That is a must shift for the coach. I don't know what is going on with Nick Dorn's shot, but he hasn't made anything. We took Connor Enright, another poor performance from Enright. So you got 2 starters for the last 3 games who have scored less than 10 points. We had, again, double-digit turnovers at home, double digits. Second chance points we're losing. We're giving the ball to the other team. They're taking advantage of it. They're gaining the momentum back. Our shooters go cold, and boy, did it show. And another just ice-cold killer for the Hoosiers, and it's happened now 4 times this season. 4. 9 minutes, over 9 minutes without a field goal. Over 9 minutes in the second half. The Indiana Hoosiers did not have a field goal from the floor to even try to stop Northwestern. And Northwestern took advantage of it and defeats Indiana at home. The bottom of the Big Ten beats IU at home at Assembly Hall. The most winnable game they have over the next 4, which includes ranked Michigan State at home this weekend. That's going to be a loss. The next game after that, Michigan. That's going to be a loss. Folks, it's not looking good for the Hoosiers. My take right now is Indiana basketball is on a downturn for the season, and they are not making the tournament. Unless somehow, some way, every shooter gets hot. We somehow decide that we want to control the ball and we have less than double-digit turnovers in a game, and Sam Fisher finally figures out how to rebound and get some points in the paint. Him being our tallest guy on the team, we're already at a disadvantage. The MAC V offense is not working in the Big Ten, even at home. Tucker DeVries continues to struggle as he shoots. The win and loss for the Hoosiers is on the back of Wilkerson, and if a team can shut him down, it is donezo for IU. So I'm calling it right now. IU not going to make the tournament this year. We were healthily inside the bubble before the losses to Purdue and the loss to Northwestern this week, and now we're looking at last 4 in. If we somehow upset one of the ranked opponents in the Big Ten that we have left going into the Big Ten Conference. Right now, we're going to be projected to be a bottom tier play-in game going into the Big Ten Conference. If we can somehow get, I mean, at this point, we're going to need to get at least 2 wins out of that tournament, and one of them is probably going to need to be a ranked win based on our seeding. So we're looking at must to make the tournament 2 ranked wins in order to continue our season. And right now, IU is 3-7 against ranked opponents. The stats and the odds are just not there for IU, and based on the absolute abysmal performance that we saw against Northwestern at home, DeVries just cannot coach this team into the tournament. So the next question becomes, will Indiana make the NIT? I think if they get 1 win over the stretch of the next 4 games, we move to 18-13, and then we win at least 1 game in the Big Ten Conference championship. That will move us to 19-14. We might get the invite there. Will DeVries take it? I think he will, because what he's going to be looking for is to, try to get the guys experience that are going to be the core of the team moving into next year. It's his first year, la-di-da-di, all that other nonsense. This is the NIL period. We're in the era of NIL. We spent over $10 million of the NIL money on this team. We are one of 8 teams in all of Division I men's college basketball that spent over $10 million on their team. And guess what? Everybody but IU, all 7 others are already projected. They're either ranked or they're projected to make the tournament. And IU is going to be the one team and program that spends over $10 million on NIL money to build a team from scratch and fail to make any kind of postseason. And that's just not going to do it in Hoosier country. Even if it is your first year, that is pathetic. You basically got given the keys to the kingdom, and you can't coach yourself out of a wet paper bag. With 9 minutes of not scoring, and the fact that we did not sub in and take dudes off the floor that were just chucking up miss after miss after miss, that's on the coach. If your shooters go cold, if they're in isolation, if the defense is looking suspect, you got to get somebody in there that's going to at least give some hustle for a couple minutes and give the guys a rest to get out of their head, but also just break up the monotony of not being able to make a field goal from the floor for 9 minutes. That's crazy to me. A $10 million roster can't score a basket in Division I sports at home in a game against a terrible team in a pretty much have to win because they're so bad. There are no bad losses. This was a bad loss for Indiana. And, does it mark that the season's over? I'm saying yes. The statistics would say we got a slim to none chance, and I would say if we don't win 1 game in the next 3 or the next 4, none is at the front of the line. So sad season for the Hoosiers. Expected a lot more out of a $10 million roster, and here we sit. So let's talk baseball. It is a tough time to be a Indiana fan of baseball right now with our universities. Every D1 program of the majors have a losing record right now. But there is some glimmers of hope. Hate to admit it, but right now, as of today, the best team out in the state is Purdue. Purdue with a 4-3 record and 1 ranked win. What's crazy, every team, I'm not counting Ball State, every team that is a major competitor in baseball has a ranked win right now on their schedule. And other than You guessed it, Indiana University. IU this week does win a midweek game against Xavier. Good win, not a ranked win, but a good win at home. Actually, this was away. This was at Cincinnati. But Xavier baseball is generally pretty good. They generally compete and have had playoff or postseason records the last, I think, 3 of 5 years. So it was a good win for the program, but we still have a losing record at 3-5. The Hoosiers this week finally get to play. I don't want to say it's still pre-conference scheduling, but the portion of our schedule that's supposed to help refine some of the stuff that's going wrong. Get some games under the belt and some wins under the belt early before you take on your conference opponents. And unfortunately for IU, we have just dropped it time and time again. We lose to Notre Dame on Sunday, so we go in another, as we spoke to in the last video, another 11th inning loss where we should have won, but errors just crush the team. Even in the game with Xavier, the errors continued. IU averaging over 2 errors now per game. That's gonna lose you ball games. I mean, those errors are outs. Those errors are run-saving outs, and when you make those errors, you're just giving a score away to the other team, and you're allowing them to just come back and win it. And that's what we saw with Indiana Notre Dame. Luckily, they're able to bounce back against Xavier and looked semi-decent minus the errors. Pitching is still a problem. Decent pitching going through the third and fourth, but guys are just not. The starters are just not able to get over the hump. And actually, you've seen some of the best pitching performances of the season in the 2 midweek games that they've played, and both have been victories. But then you go back to the regular rotation on your Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the guys are just they're maybe getting through 3 innings, I think, on average, but they're getting touched up, and the IU offense has just not shown the ability to be able to help their pitching staff out at all. And but moving on to this weekend should be and is, at this point in the season, a very necessary break from some of the higher level competition. We have the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. WKU is pretty decent. They're definitely not bad, especially their baseball program. And so it's not going to be easy wins, but when you talk Power 5 division team against the Hilltoppers, we've got better athletes, we have better recruiting, we've got better money behind the team, behind the coaches, behind everything, facilities, all that, everything that you want to highlight there, all those intangibles. It's time to show up, and Indiana needs to take 3 out of 4 this weekend. A 3 out of 4 would move Indiana to 7-6, so up to a winning record. Well, as you were 6-6, which would be 500 ball, which is really our last, minus the midweek games, the last of the non-conference opponents that we'll face. And so, just to get us back to 500. We got to win 3 out of 4 games this weekend. So you got a Thursday, Friday, as you were. We have a 4-game series, so there must be a doubleheader. I think there's a doubleheader on Saturday, but we got to win it. Bottom line, we got to win this series. A sweep would be amazing, but that's probably not realistic based on the baseball that I've seen. But we need to take a majority of those games and win the series overall to help position us and give us a little bit more room and a little bit more buffer. IU right now, the worst record of the major teams in the state of Indiana, which is crazy to me. Just looking at the last 15 years of college baseball. And as I stated, we look at Purdue has a ranked win against Oregon State. They were number 12. Indiana State has a ranked win against, and Indiana State are unfortunately they would be the best team. I think that they're actually the best team, not record wise right now. Hence, I'm wearing the 1979 shooting jacket. But we look at the doggone Aces in Evansville had an early series against an 18th ranked Kentucky, and they did drop two, but they won one. And so that for Kentucky was one of their cupcake games, cupcake series to help build their record in before they go into conference play against the SEC. Evansville being able to take one of those. Kentucky probably loathes the fact that they didn't sweep that series, but it does help overall the Aces with their young season. And the Aces, the last time that the state of Indiana had teams in the college baseball playoffs, you had Indiana State, Indiana, and Evansville. All three teams were in, and so Evansville has a good program down there. I've watched them. This season is probably the last of the players that I actually know and have watched personally, but they have the ability to beat ranked opponents on the road this was at Lexington. So, I like to see that. That shows that they dropped two, but you know what? They got a ranked win, which is more than Indiana has right now. On the road, which shows they're going to be, when it comes conference time, they're going to be a tough team in the Valley that to play, and that's good. Indiana State kind of in the same boat. They had a ranked win against. Oh darn! Well, they had a ranked win, and it was also a 3-game series. Then, and they only took one out of 3. So very similar on the road. It wasn't the greatest, and we saw, we highlighted earlier this year that they've traveled twice now, and they've played, actually, they've traveled once, and they got swept, which was unfortunate. But they did have a ranked win, and they traveled on the road this week. Their midweek game, so a story of two things there. It was Florida Gulf Coast. So Florida Gulf Coast, habitually a very decent baseball program coming out of Florida. They only take one, or they split. It was a two game series. They split that, which is excellent. I mean that's what you're going for, if not the sweep. But they're able to get that win. Then they traveled to Nashville and played Vanderbilt in Nashville. Again, another powerhouse SEC team that, the era of, Dansby Swanson, Fulmer. I mean, that program has generated tons of MLB talent. And they traveled to Nashville, and just like how Evansville was kind of the cupcake team for Kentucky to play a series against, this was a midweek cupcake for Vanderbilt. Indiana State did drop that game, but they looked good. We're talking, there weren't a huge amount of errors. The pitching staff looked good. They were just outclassed. I mean, that's just a better program, better athletes. Again, everything that I said, which should be the intangibles that IU should hold an advantage on when we play a lot of these cupcake teams, and the talent for Indiana State negated that. And so when I look at the actual records, Purdue's one game over right now. Got it. Purdue's played one ranked team, and they do have that ranked win. But so do Indiana State and Evansville, and they've played and lost to powerhouse SEC teams on the road. And so I actually think the two best baseball teams right now, based off of the early season of what I've seen, are your Evansville Aces and your Indiana State Sycamores. All of the teams right now, what would I project? I'll call the shot right now. I don't think Purdue is going to be as good as that ranked win against Oregon made them look. I think they're going to struggle in the conference, and they've got a much tougher conference than the Valley. I think Indiana State and Evansville might end up being in that conference championship for Missouri Valley, and I think one of those two teams are going to end up making the college baseball playoffs this season. So that's my take for the state of Indiana baseball as it sits right now. All right, we're going to move in and close out with the Cubs. Oh, Lord, the Cubs. Lost another one today, up at 1.4-1, and the relief pitching that we've been going in there with just cannot get it done. And that was a huge weak point. It was actually a strength the first half of the season for the Cubs, and then Lord did it fall off the second half. So, the joke has been, I think they even said it, PCA has been trying to find his swing since last June, and he just still does not have it. The PCA World Baseball Classic happens next week from this weekend, so a lot of the players, are the Cubs international players. We talked about it last time. Shota Imanaga playing for Japan, a couple players playing for Venezuela, and a couple for the USA, and there's one more country. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But that's kept those guys off the field, and they haven't made an appearance yet. Of the named players that I expect to start for the Cubs, two things today that I saw. Matthew Boyd did get the ball, which I did not expect him to pitch again. He will be going to World Baseball Classic, so he will not be pitching another spring training game before World Baseball Classic because they're going to want him to report and to get some throwing practice in with the team before that tournament starts. But he starts, and he had last week when he pitched, he got bumped. I mean, he got bumped early. He went 1 2/3, gave up 4 runs, so that was not good. An over 4 ERA. I think he left 1 on, and then that run ended up so he went at 3, and then 1 run ended up scoring. The other unfortunate loss this week, which is going to be a starter for us, is James Talion. Man, this guy, he lost another one for the Cubs early. He only goes 3 1/3, and his ERA is over 17 in spring training. So whatever the Cubs pitching coach is trying to get out of James, he is not hitting his spots. He is giving up a lot of contact, and he's given up a lot of home runs, and that is not good for the guy who's probably going to be our four spot, if not our 5 spot. So the Cubs continue to struggle. The pitching rotation, we've been through now 8 games, and we've only seen 3 of the probable starters, and the other starters that started were minor league guys that got that I think Council wanted to take a look at if they need to get pulled up mid-season. So, the Cubs, it's just a continued travesty of errors. The defense is not great. We're dropping balls. We're having a lot of miscues. The batters are not making great contact. I think the best batter on our team right now is starter catcher Carson Kelly. So of the starters that we've seen so far through spring training, Carson Kelly, Michael Bush started today at first base, so we did get to see him, but he did not have any RBIs. He did have a run. I think he had a hit and a run, and then got pulled. But there's really underperformance from a lot of the guys who are going to be your everyday starters, and that's not good. And when you couple that with the fact that the starting pitching has also looked atrocious, and the fact that they still have not put more than 4 actual starters in a rotation or in the lineup with a pitcher who's going to be a starting pitcher, with a catcher who's going to be his catcher, the Cubs haven't done that yet. And so whether it be the injuries, whether it be the doggone World Baseball Classic, whether it be the visa issue with Venezuela, right now the Cubs are in a hard spot. And whatever metrics Council is after, I hope that he's collecting them. I'm hoping that those will inform later decisions, because the play on the field that I'm seeing right now is absolutely atrocious, and this does not look like an 88-90 win ball club that's going to win the NL Central. It just does not. Day after day, the guys, a couple of the bright spots, but again, how much impact are they going to have on the big league team? I don't know. Is James Charantos and Rojas. And Rojas did do some spot starts at the second half of the season when the Cubs struggled, but he's a double A guy. And so what they're actually probably looking at is he'll be a starter for the triple A team this year, but not a big league starter. And he's been the most consistent hitter outside of the actual starters, your Carson Kelly or Pete Crow Armstrong, who I don't believe has a hit yet. He's been the most consistent hitter in the lineup day after day. So, I like that the minor league guys are getting time, getting looked at. The council's getting to, plot and plan where he is going to try to designate some of those guys so that he can pull them up later on in the system. But I'm just not seeing how a major league roster is going to come together when it's been so fractured through 8 games. I got it. It's very early still. Am I Chicken Little? Probably, because I'm a Cubs baseball fan. But I'm just not seeing any consistency. I'm not understanding what council is after. And your starting pitching is looking just bad. And so without that, I got it. We're only going to let a guy pitch 2 innings, maybe a couple outs in the third, but they look bad. And where does it go from here? I don't know. Clearly, like I've said before, council's not after trying to win the Cactus League Cup. Got it. But at the same time, what are we after in spring training? If not, at least trying to get, your pitchers comfortable if they're changing something in their throws, if they're trying to work on, addition of a certain pitch, if they're trying to dial in a different pitch. I'm praying that's what's happening with James Talion, because he does not look like a starter right now. He looks absolutely atrocious. And so, what will opening day lineup be? Right now, I've got no idea. I think it looks like probably Carson Kelly at the dish, Michael Bush at first, Nico Horner, who we haven't seen yet in spring training, playing second, Dansby Swanson at short, Alex Bregman at third, Happ in the outfield, who we haven't seen at spring training yet, Pete Crow Armstrong in center field, who's looked bad, and probably Suzuki starting in right. And he looked good in his his 2 at bats in 1 game that he's showed up to play at for the minor league or for spring training. So that is the state of Cubs baseball. It's not looking good. Not sure what council's gonna, what data he's trying to collect. Hopefully he's collecting it. Hopefully we've got a decent team to field, outside of our regular starters, and hoping that the depth of this bullpen, which continues to give up runs in the middle innings and not being able to hold a 3-run lead, going into 6th, 7th, 8th, hopefully it tightens up and we get some bullpen folks in there that actually can do middle relief. We still haven't seen our major acquisition from Miami yet pitch. He's supposed to be one of our starters. We haven't seen Shota yet because of World Baseball Classic. So, there is some hope, but the guys that are getting work right now, it is just not looking good. It's not looking good like the state of Indiana at baseball right now. That's it for right now. We will catch you up in a couple days with a couple more baseball updates and hopefully some updates on Indiana beating Michigan State. Will it happen? Probably not. I'd take Michigan State. All right, out here, go Hoosiers.